Hello Aries, and welcome to your Aries December 2021 reading and predictions. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, for those of you who are stopping by for the first time, and for the subscribers, you know, always much energy and love to you at all times. Well, this is an interesting month, December, isn't it? There's a lot of things going on, December being the winter solstice of great importance in the northern hemisphere anyway. It's the summer solstice in the south, so all the South Africans and Aussies will be grabbing their surfboards, but in the north it's the winter solstice, and that is when the sun reappears, and so it's not a surprise to see which is about December the 25th, so it's not a surprise to see a lot of religious activity around the December the 25th. But of course there's Hanukkah from the 28th of November through to December 6th. The 8th of December is what I think is important to the Buddhist members of the audience, which is Bodhi Day, which celebrates the enlightenment of the Buddha. And of course the 12th of December is that of Our Lady of Guadalupe, isn't it? The 21st of December through to the 1st of January, that's death. That is Yule, which is of great significance to those who are of Wicca and pagan persuasions. And of course December 25th, Christmas Day. So greetings to all of you, and good luck and lots of love for you during the periods that you might celebrate. Nothing particularly important for the Muslim or Hindu audiences, I don't think, in December, but if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. Now, as I say, we're taking 5 cards. That first one was Death. There's the Queen of Cups. 5 is all we need, isn't it? There's the 5 of Discs. Gee, lovely cards here for you. What's this one? The King of Wands. Is it just one there? Yes. Got to make sure that I get the right number. And there ultimately is the Queen of Discs. What a beautiful set of cards for you. So why don't you now come sit down next to me? We'll have a good close look at these cards together while I do the reading for you. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think you can see those. Let's have a look at this card first. Rather a striking image, I'm sure you will agree. This is the card of Death, which in historical times was never called Death, but which was called card number 13. Well, what would you die for? The Death card is the Tarot's Memento Mori. Memento Mori is Latin for remember that you will die, and it is a call to you to make sure that you live each day here. Here it is reminding you that you are mortal, to live a good life and to live it to the fullest, for one day your body will die. You won't, but you will just change cars. Now this card here, I think, shows Morta the Crone. Morta the Crone was the Roman goddess of death, and she was one of the 3, what we in English call the Fates. You might recall they were the personified 3 women who were responsible for the lives of humans and of the gods themselves. Each one of them had a different point. This one here cut the thread that determined the time and the manner of each person's death. And doesn't the hair of the woman here show you that there are threads here? These flowers, incidentally, they are traditional memento mori symbols, as flowers only bloom for a short time before their petals fall back to the dirt. Now, mantis is a Greek word for prophet, as Morta knows your hour of death. Incidentally, card number 13, the 13th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Mem, which means water. What is the abyss but water with no end and no light? To go into death is to go into this dark place, be it in the water of oblivion or the water of your own subconscious. As you descend, you shed your sins, your guilt, the pieces of clothing that make up your life, until you reach the bottom. Naked, you can see yourself for what you really are. But remember, death is not extinguishing the light. It is putting out the lamp, because the dawn has come. Now, people are not the only things that go through cycles and end with death. There are situations, relationships, eras of your life, even the seasons of the earth and the stars and the wheel of the great year go through cycles of life and of death. At some point, everything comes to an end, which is good. Life and death have the same maker, and they come from and through each other. Even though death ends a cycle, the cycle continues on. Death is not the last card in the tarot. It is really only just past the midpoint. But there is life after death of the body, and life in death, and death in life. And when you face your own death, you can live life to the fullest. Now, I call this woman, though she may be more to the crone, I also refer to her as the child of the great transformers, the lady of the gate of death. This is Mars ruling Scorpio. Mars, the planet of fiery energy in its lowest form, which is necessary to provide the impulse to move on, I think what we have here is the feeling of death and resurrection, transformation for you at this time. Scorpio, well, the Scorpio has three aspects to it. It is the scorpion in hard form, it is the snake in more fluid form, and in its exalted form, it is the eagle. So you go from the hard encased imprisonment of a situation and become free and soar again. You become free of old ensnarements. There are external changes going on around you, endings, letting go of emotional attachments. It's, I think, also for you, the end of an era or a cycle for you as you start to bring your thoughts together to say, what is this new year going to bring for me? I am going to will it into manifestation. During that period, you will, I think, be facing your fears and breaking your limits. Do you know you need to grow, to learn life's lessons? This transformation can sometimes, very rarely though, be manifested as a crisis period in someone's life. But any fear of the future that you have must at this time be replaced with confidence, because great things are in store for you. It is a time to cut away all that which does not serve you in your life. You are now ready to make the necessary changes in your life and accept any pain that may come with the loss of the old. To what outdated relationships or situations are you clinging at this time? I suspect when we come to the reading of next month, things will be in motion for you with respect to those relationships and situations that no longer serve you. So this is a time for you now to say yes to death and yes to yourself. Now, as you do come to the end of this year sometimes, and as this card says, it says yes to life. And here is something which is coming to you to have a conversation, I think. And it is this card. Now, before looking at the image, I can just tell that the astrology of this five of discs, where it is placed. Incidentally, 5 has with it mystically Mars associated with it as well. But the astrology is Mercury ruling the first decan of Taurus. So you'll have the speed and fluidity, intellectual ability of Mercury, but that might at times feel weighed down by slow, heavy Taurus. And so you might be thinking to yourself, maybe at one time or other during the period, that there is some problematic communications going on with somebody else, is what I suspect. Now look, if you've got worries about things and worries about how things are going to turn out for you in the following year, don't worry about it. You may fear setbacks. You may lack self-belief. Don't. What you must do is to make sure that you don't lose faith in yourself. Now, the fives are associated with instability, after what is sometimes a temporary stability, which can be associated with the numerology of the number 4, which comes before it. But I think what this image here is doing is it's reminding you that heaven is in the breast. Eternity is now. Now you see here this circle thing, that's a snake. That's gently parting this serpentine shell. It's called the Ouroboros. It's the snake which is eternally eating its own tail. And the heart contains the immortal soul. This 5 of discs is the temple of the souls, filling really the fourfold element of earth. Now, I suppose that this man might well be across the fool, but he is someone who is, this is spirit which is fully descended into flesh. He is completely surrounded by serpents. He wears them. Still, there is paradise in his heart. It is the pit you have to go down into to retrieve the goal, the knowledge of yourself, of your destiny. Then you have to bring a balance between that world and the one you live in. The pit is the snakes, and the heart speaks of paradise. The ring is this snake around the heart. This 5 of discs, I think, is talking about internal energy with you. It is paradise, heaven, where you find yourself. The snakes are symbolic of flesh, and interesting to think of the serpent in the Garden of Eden story, which is in chapter 2, I think it is, of the book of Genesis in the Hebrew and Christian Bibles. Here we see, well, that Garden of Eden was where the action took place there. Now, you can refer to the Garden of Eden, if you like, as being a literal place, but I don't think it is. The Garden of Eden is where you and I and others resided in spirit before we were expelled, if you like. But rather than being expelled, we chose to descend, to come from the Garden of Eden and spiritual paradise, and come down into matter, into form, to fix up this world, to do the things that bring this world closer to God. So on the one hand, you might say that we are expelled from the Garden of Eden, but there deep in the heart, you still have the Garden of Eden, where you are not subject to the rules of the physical world, where you still live in a state of no shame or suffering or pain or death. There is only life and love and abundance, a paradise. You are the guardian of your own paradise. What were you looking for with being born? Searching, questing is for knowledge, knowledge of yourself, knowledge of purpose, why you are here. And after going down into the deepest pits of hell where we are, you know that heaven is not in the sky, it is in the breast. Eternity is not somewhere else, it is now, in the present moment. I think because you have drawn this card, it means that you are ready to look at your situation as it is. You now have an opportunity to free yourself by initiating the necessary discussion, either with your partner or just with yourself. Only clear and open communication will facilitate that progress. That's that Mercury aspect. Now, in what areas or situations are you not clear and decisive enough? With which people do you need to clarify things? Say to yourself, I am ready to look at my life as it is and trust in the process of resolving my fears. I am straightening out my life. Well, then we have a number of court cards who have come here to talk to you. What is this first one? The Queen of Cups. Let's have a look at you. What do you have to say, my darling? What do you have to tell my friend here? Well, the Queen of Cups is the Holy Grail, the reservoir and container of all of our subconscious and ancestral wisdom, the dark waters of the abyss, the box of Pandora, and down in her deepest, darkest place resides hope, the pearl of wisdom, and you'll see these pearls here. The ring, the sword, the symbol of your purpose in life, the reason you live. Now, emotions are an aspect of this card and the suit of cups, of course, but they are just a skin of velvet covering the tiger with unremorseful fang beneath it. Now, the pearls, you see, are something that are built up over a long time, thin layer by thin layer, until they are something beautiful and precious. Water is so soft and yin. You know yin, yang? Well, yin is the feminine principle. Yet it is so powerful, it shapes the earth. It does so with slow, steady consistency, collective action over long periods of time, one drip at a time, one wave at a time, moving one grain of sand at a time. It wears away rock, it carves canyons, shapes mountains, and is the source of all life. And beneath her beautiful, perfect surface lies Tiamat, the goddess from the ancient Sumerian creation story, which is a precursor to Genesis, by the way, where she defeats the dragon of chaos. Now, I think that Cancer, well, I do see this crab here, and I think that Cancer is going to be important to you this time. So is Gemini. Now, look, generally her characteristics also, I think, depend mostly on the influences that affect her, the external influences. She's very much at the disposal of every impact and every impression. Now, but of course these court cards can have either gender. She's a woman who is very intuitive, an observer, dreamy, tranquil, poetic, kind yet passive, and it's quite possible that you'll have psychic ability during this period. She is esoterically, as a queen, water, and in the suit of water, she's almost translucent. Emotions will be shown openly. There's a degree of motherhood around here, but also a degree of emotional integrity. Now, because she is so translucent, she has the capacity, really, of being very good at getting on with friends, because you're able to get into other people's mind space during this period. She's also somebody who could well have been greatly affected by difficulties in the past, which is carrying through her with you. And if this is the case, just cut the anchor ropes on those things. If you are in an environment that is hostile or difficult, it could bring out your shadow side. Yeah, I'm getting this. She could have been in a relationship which ruined her financially or emotionally. Being attracted to the wrong person and taking on their energy would have had a disastrous effect on her. And she may well be carrying scars from that time and not reflecting her purity as she should. But you should at this time make sure that the situation, the events around you, the environment around you, and particularly the people around you are not negative or causing you distress, because you will be influenced by events and people around you during this period. So get rid of people who are negative so that you can live a great, balanced and fulfilling life. Do you know, by showing your feelings openly, you become beautiful. There may be people who don't understand you. Well, don't concern yourself about it, because there are enough others with whom you can share your feelings. Are you actually open to your emotions and feelings? Trust your feelings. Live in harmony with them. And say this to yourself. My openness and vitality make me beautiful. Well, let's have a look at the Queen who sits beneath her. We'll leave the King to the last for some reason. Let's have a look at this Queen. Here she is, the Queen of Discs, and look at these diamonds which fall as tears from her. Do you know that the Greeks and the Romans thought diamonds were tears of the gods, pieces of stars fallen to earth, or even that they were living beings that possessed a soul? Now, diamond comes from the Greek word adamas, which means invincible or unconquerable, as diamonds are the hardest substance known to us, aren't they? Now, all of these things could also describe the soul of an individualistic person. Tears of God descended, stars, unconquerable and strong, possessing of a soul, precious, ancient. Well, the Queen of Discs tends to these things, providing an environment where things can grow slowly and beautifully. There is pressure too, and pruning and shaping, as with the cultured rose garden which lies behind her here. It's in her garden with all of the elements in perfect harmony that we live our lives, where you live your life, sustained by her milk, food, water, air, life. She is for me the Queen of the thrones of the earth. A great degree of Capricorn around here, going to be important to you. So is Sagittarius, I think. And what we have here is a woman who is ambitious, affectionate and kind, charming, maybe timid at time to times, but extremely practical. And it's very good energy for those people who are involved in domestic duties or beautifying things around the home, even practical things such as hair or makeup. Now, she's ambitious, but I think she works with instinct and intuition rather than with the intellect. Now, I'm not for one moment saying that you don't have an intellect. You have a fine intellect, as we all know. But this is a time, I think, where it's probably a good idea to, just for this month, to be quiet, hard-working, practical, sensible. But just make sure that you don't let things dull come into your being. The person represented by this image here possesses the finest of the quieter qualities, I think. And they can, in a reticent and unassuming fashion, actually be quite sexy and lusty. Maybe get into things like drink and other things, almost as if it's only by getting out of themselves can they realize their essential happiness. But there's a great degree of fruitfulness here for you. She is the watery aspect of earth, so the water coming in, bringing nourishment, life to the earth. And I think it's a period also where I think that you might be overcoming what may, in some respects, seem to you to be something of a barren past. Do you think? You're overcoming it at this time. So stay passionate at this time, practical, and have a nurturing attitude to yourself and your circumstances. And go with the flow, as I say, at this time, just for this time. Then you can take on that pioneering spirit later. Now, I think she also represents health and diet, so this is a particularly good time for you to make sure that you do take care of your physical health and go forward quietly without an overt attack upon existing situations. You maybe have come through an arid stretch on your journey, I think, but you've now arrived at more fruitful surroundings. Now you can rest and devote some attention to yourself and to your physical needs. And maybe ask yourself, in what ways have you neglected your body, your outer self? Do you indulge yourself maybe just a little too much? So devote more attention to your health and physical beauty is what she's saying to you at this time, more than you have done. Now, of course, you'll already have a beautiful physical appearance, there's no doubt about that. But don't rest on your laurels, is what this is saying. Don't rest on your laurels. Build upon that wonderful gift that you have been given from God. And say this to yourself. I give my body the gift of loving attention. It gives me the gift of life energy, joy in living and in health. Well, we were talking about the Holy Grail with this card here, and it just strikes me that, looking at this king, that in order to redeem yourself, that is, to grasp the Holy Grail, you must be able to get it not by grace, but by the strength and goodness of your own free will. You have control and mastery over the elements. They are his kingdom, the land, the foundation, the strength. Now, this King of Wands, I think, has control over his own energy, passion, creativity, and his spirituality. He knows what he wants. He knows what to do, and his illumination leads others. Now, this is a god, I think, an ancient Sumerian god called Utu, the Sumerian sun god, whose main attribute was righteousness and justice as he illuminated what was previously dark or where there were wrongs or misdeeds. The symbol on his forehead is the Sumerian, sometimes called Babylonian, symbol for Utu. His eye has the Ujjat, or Eye of Horus, symbolized in a stylistic way after the eye of the peregrine falcon, as Horus, the ancient Egyptian god, is often pictured as. The Ujjat, this thing here, is a healing and protective symbol that wards off evil through the illuminating light of the sun. Now, I'm getting Sagittarius here again for you, so there's no doubt that that's going to be important. And also Scorpio. This is a time when there'll be a lot of activity with you and a lot of generosity around. You may also find that you are quite impetuous during this period, maybe quite proud. You'll be swift in action, but other people might not be able to predict the course of the action that you take. There'll be also something of a fierceness around you. So you'll be energetic and ambitious, but go with the flow, as this other card was saying at the time. Put these things into the new year. There's an adventurousness with you and a determination. And I'll have to say this to you, and bear this in mind, that other people are going to find you very charming, magnetic, and sexually attractive during this period. They're going to find you very hard to resist. So do with that what you will. Well, I thought that was really, really interesting. It looks like it's going to be a great month for you, and don't you deserve it? You really do, particularly coming up for this time of the year. It's busy for everybody, wherever you happen to be, and it's a wonderful time of year, and it's a wonderful time for you. Now also, don't forget, I have done a 2022 yearly calendar reading where I use some beautiful Renaissance art cards. 12 cards, one for each month of the year, which I think that you'll find delightful, and it's in particular, it points out what a good year it's going to be for you. But until then, have a look at that. But until then, I look forward to seeing you again next month. And remember though, always, and one thing, and it is this, that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.